How are you?
Hey, terrific, thank you.
No problem. So there's a lot of things we can talk about. Let's start with Arnold Schwarzenegger, the environmentalist, or the governor is the environmentalist. Like, how did the process begin for you?
I didn't start out being an environmentalist. I was driving my big Hummers, but as soon as you take on a responsibility like this, you start thinking in that direction, because we all recognize and realize that we have global warming, and there's certain things that we all need to do. And we have to set certain standards, and we have to, come up with laws that roll back the greenhouse gases and protect our water and protect the oceans and the coastline and the fish and all of those things, protect our land and make sure that we have enough drinking water and safe drinking water in the future, and also make sure that, we can stop that global warming thing.
Did you have a moment where you said, or maybe I should actually start doing something now? I mean, I think you're the reason Hummers are for civilians. Did you have the first one? So, like, did you have a moment where you sat back and thought, I think I can do more now?
Well, it was not kind of driving in my Hummer. I was just, and saying that I can do more now. It was just, I'm so excited that technology is becoming available now that makes me be able to drive my Hummer, but put a modifier on my engine so we can release only 50% of the greenhouse gases, or to put a hydrogen engine in a Hummer that means zero greenhouse gas emissions, or to eventually drive an electric car. I feel like that the technology is going to make all of those things happen, rather than having to give up the big car or flying airplanes and all of those things. No, let's produce airplane engines where you can have zero emissions, or maybe only half of the emissions, rather than saying, I can fly in one airplane. I mean, we're not going to roll back to the Stone Age.
Well, I mean, on a federal level, this isn't really happening. If you're seeing this happening now, especially in North America, it's in Canada, it's with the premiers. It'll have to be with governors in the state level. Why is it that there's the disparity between the federal government and the state governors, and I guess the provincial government in Canada, as to taking the lead in this?
And the federal government is looking at us now. He says, let's watch them how they can do that. And I think that as we form the partnerships, because what I'm doing is I'm not waiting for the federal government.
Well, you said didn't you say it was an embarrassment in the past, the way I guess the American federal government has handled this?
No, but what we are doing is we're creating partnerships with other states and with provinces in Canada. And eventually the federal government is going to go and say, wow, look at all this. I mean, all those other states are doing it. And in Canada, they're doing it. Everywhere they're doing it. We are a little bit behind. Let's now get on board.
The criticism of the Prime Minister in Canada, and to a degree, obviously, the President of the United States, is that they aren't doing what they should be doing. When you run California, here's what I want to do, you can get it done. Tell me what the challenges of when you go talk to a Prime Minister or a President, and they don't see it the way you see it, and they aren't going to take the steps that you feel is necessary.
Remember, I cannot ask the Prime Minister to do things that our federal government is not doing, because you can't throw stones if you live in a glass house.
Right.
So, but I think as states we are doing really well, and there is a lot of things that we can do together. We have already worked with the Canadian, with the various different provinces over the last few months. The Canadians are very much into the environment. They love protecting it. And the various different provinces that have come to me, they are signing agreements with us to protect the environment, agreements about the hydrogen highway, to build the hydrogen highway, and all kinds of things, rolling back the greenhouse gases, or, for instance, our whole move to kind of protect the ocean water and the kind of, certain areas throughout our coast, 5,000 miles up. Canada is part of that, to keep certain areas like a national park, where you can touch anything, where you can fish in those areas. And so, kind of like Teddy Roosevelt did 100 years ago with the parks, we want to do the same thing now with the oceans. And so with all of those things, Canada has been very enthusiastically partnering with us.
People think of Republicans and Democrats, and obviously when it comes to your environmental agenda, a lot of people don't think you fit in with the traditional Republican stance. Is that accurate, or are they not getting the accurate picture of what the Republicans are when it comes to environment?
Well, the Republican Party, like the Democratic Party, there is a huge tent. You can go right from all the way to the right and all the way to the center, or even sometimes cross over the center and go to the other side. That's how you win elections, really. I mean, the only way I can win an election in California when you have a majority of Democrats is by crossing over to their side. And what I have done consistently is I make decisions based on what's best for the state rather than what's best for the Democratic Party or Republican Party. You should ignore that because we are elected in the end to be public servants, not party servants. You know, that is something you can do beforehand. But when you get elected, you got to represent the people in your state or in your country. And forget about all the party things, because in the end, we are not breathing Democratic air or Republican air. We breathe air. We all breathe the same air.
What do you, 2008, in the presidential election, what do you look, is there a candidate who you think would represent the environment's interest better than another? Is there somebody who you're leaning to support more than another?
I think the key thing is that people are interested in the environment, recognize the fact that there is global warming. I mean, I would hate to have a president that is, lives in the Stone Age and with his mind and thinks that, there's no global warming that doesn't exist.
Yeah.
And then, because there are scientists that maybe disagree with that, I always say that if you have, a sick child and you have 98 doctors out of 100 say you need medication and treatment, and 2 say you don't, I go with the 98.
Some people say you're living in that place right now, though. That with this current administration, that is a very difficult sell. Climate change.
No, but I mean, I think that the president recognized there is climate change. I mean, he has said it in the State of the Union address. But I think that the federal government is not moving fast enough, and we are at war right now, literally, because the federal government believes that, greenhouse gases is not a pollutant. So we had to take the federal government to the Supreme Court and argue that. And the Supreme Court came out and said, yes, it is a pollutant. I mean, hello, how much does it take to recognize that it's a pollutant? So now they have to give us basically the waiver so that we can regulate our vehicles in California, because that's what I want to do. We want to regulate our vehicles and say, you cannot go and have this kind of greenhouse gas emissions out of your tailpipe. We want to go and have you reduce it down by 10% in the next 15 years in order to really, so that we can fight global warming.
Nice to see you. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Pleasure.
Thank you.
Thank you. Arnold Schwarzenegger, the governor.
I'm not going to lie to you. It was good to talk to Schwarzenegger, and I tried to be mature, but the first time he said California, in here I was like, buck up, soldier. Like in my head, that's all I'm saying. All right, come